Chapter 2. A Desert Diner. It's really too bad my husband is a foreigner. To refer to one's own husband in this way undoubtedly seems a bit exclusive. But since every country has language and customs completely unlike the next, there are some areas in our conjugal life where it's impossible to see eye to eye. When I first agreed to marry Jose, I reminded him that we differed not only in nationality, but also in personality. Perhaps one day we might even argue to the point of physical confrontation. I know you can be moody, he replied, but you've got a good heart. Fight as we may, let's get married anyway. So we finally tied the knot 7 years after we first met. I'm not involved in the women's lib movement, but I wasn't willing to toss aside my independence and my carefree spirit. I made it extra clear that I would still do things my way after marriage. Otherwise, we should scrap the whole idea. All I want is for you to do things your way, Jose told me. If you lost your individuality and flair, I wouldn't see any point in marrying you. Great to hear such things from the big man himself. I was very pleased. As the wife of Jose, I oblige him in terms of language. My poor foreigner, he still can't tell the difference between the Chinese character for person and enter, no matter how many times I teach him. I let him off lightly and speak his language instead. But once we have children, they'll learn Chinese if it kills them. He's all in favor of this idea too. Let's be real. The housewife's top priority is the kitchen. I've always loathed chores, but cooking is something I take great pleasure in. Give me some spring onions and a few slices of meat, and I can whip up a dish in a flash. I quite relish this form of artistry. My mother in Taiwan was devastated when she found out that I was moving to the barrens of Africa because of Jose's work. Jose is the breadwinner in our household, so I had to follow my meal ticket. No room for argument there. Our kitchen was dominated by Western food in those early days of marriage, but then assistance came to our household via airmail. I received vermicelli noodles, seaweed, shiitake, mushrooms, instant noodles, dried pork, and other valuable foodstuffs in bulk. I was so overjoyed I couldn't keep my hands off it at all. Add to that list a jug of joy sauce sent by a girlfriend in Europe, and the Chinese restaurant in our household was just about ready for business. A pity there was only one non-paying customer to be had. Eventually we had friends queuing up out of the door to come and eat. Actually, what my mother sent me really wasn't enough to run a Chinese restaurant, but luckily Jose has never been to Taiwan. He saw that I had the cockiness of a master chef and began to have confidence in me. The first dish was chicken soup with vermicelli. Whenever he gets home from work, Jose always yells, "Hurry up with dinner! I'm starving!" All those years of being loved by him accounted for naught. He clamors for food without even giving me a second glance. At least I won't have to worry about my looks going. Anyway, back to that kitchen soup and vermicelli. He took a sip and asked, "Hey, what's this? Thin noodles?" Would your mother-in-law send thin noodles from such incredible distances? No way! Well, what is it then? I want some more. It's delicious. I picked up the noodle with my chopsticks. It's called rain. Rain? He was dumbfounded. Like I said, I do as I please in marriage and say whatever comes to mind. This is from the first rainfall of the spring. After mountain rain freezes over, the natives tie it up and sell it by the bundle to buy rice wine. It's not easy to come by. Jose still had a blank expression on his face. He scrutinized me, then the rain in his bowl, and said, "You think I'm an idiot?" I brushed his question aside. "You still want some more?" "I still do, you Claritin," he answered. Afterwards, he would often eat this spring rain, and to this day, he still doesn't know what it's made from. Sometimes I feel sad that Jose can be so stupid. The second time we had ants climbing a tree, or vermicelli with ground meat. I fried the noodles in the saucepan, then sprinkled shredded meat juice on top. Jose is always hungry when he comes home from work. He chomped right into the noodles. What's this? It looks like white yarn or plastic. It's neither, I replied. It's nylon, like the fishing line you use, processed white and soft by Chinese people. He had another mouthful and gave me a small smile. Still chewing, he said. So many weird things. If we really opened a restaurant, we could sell this at a good price. Sheesh. That day he ate his full of upgraded nylon. The third time we had vermicelli was in the southeastern style pancake. The noodles minced very fine along with the spinach and meat. You put shark fin in this pancake, right? He said. I heard that this thing is pretty expensive. No wonder you only put in a little. I laughed myself to the floor. Tell your mom not to buy any more of this expensive shark fin for us. I want to write to her to say thanks. I was deeply amused. Go and write to her now. I'll translate. Ha! One day, just before Jose got home from work, I remembered that I still had some dried pork he didn't know about. I pulled it out of hiding and cut it into little squares with scissors. Then I put the pieces in a jar and bundled it up in a blanket. It just so happened that he was a little congested that day and wanted to bring out an extra blanket for bed. I was sitting nearby reading Water Margin for the upteenth time, having forgotten about my treasure for the moment. He lay in bed with the jar in his hands, peering at it left and right. I look up and, oh, what a disaster! He had discovered King Solomon's treasure. I snatched it from him. This isn't for you to eat, I yelled. It's medicine. Chinese medicine. My nose is all stuffed up, so this Chinese medicine will be perfect. He had already put a handful into his mouth. I was furious. I couldn't very well demand that he spit out, so I kept silent. It's pretty sweet. Oh, what is it? Longinus, I snapped, to soothe the cough. Longinus made from meat? You think I'm an idiot? The next day, I discovered that he had taken more than half the jar's contents to share with his co-workers. From that day onwards, his co-workers, even the Muslim ones, would always pretend to cough when they saw me, hoping to extort some pork jerky. I didn't give any to our Muslim friends. That would be immoral. At any rate, married life is all about eating. The rest of the time is spent making money in order to eat. There really isn't much more to it. One day I made rice balls, or sushi, you would say, with rice and pork floss wrapped in seaweed. This time, Jose refused to eat it. What? You're actually giving me carbon paper to eat? You really won't eat it? I asked him gently. No, no way. Excellent. I was more than happy to eat a pile myself. Open your mouth and let me see, he demanded. See, there's no color stain. I used the opposite side of the roll of carbon paper. It won't dye your mouth. I was used to bluffing every day, so I could simply come up with this kind of nonsense. You're full of hot air, you trickster. I hate you. Tell me the truth. What is it? You have no clue about China, I replied, eating another roll. I'm so disappointed in my husband. He grew annoyed and snatched up a roll with his chopsticks. Adopting the expression of a tragic hero embarking upon a path of no return, he chewed and swallowed. Yep, it's seaweed. I jumped up and exclaimed, Yes, you got it. You're so smart. I was about to jump again when I received a knock on the head from him. When we had eaten most of the Chinese goods, I grew reluctant to serve from my Chinese restaurant. Western dishes came back to the table. Jose was really surprised but happy to see me making steak when he came back from work. Make my medium rare. And are you frying potatoes too? After we had steak 3 days in a row, he seemed to have lost his appetite. He would stop eating after just one bite. Are you too tired from work? Do you want to take a quick nap and eat later? Even this old lady could still play tender. I'm not ill. I just think we're not eating well. Upon hearing this, I leapt up with a roar. Not eating well? Not eating well? Do you know how much this steak costs per kilo? It's not that, murmured Yor. I want to have some of that rain. The food your mom sent us tastes better. All right then. Our Chinese restaurant will open twice a week. How about it? How often do you want it to rain? One day, Jose came home and said to me, Wow, so the big boss called me in today. A raise? My eyes lit up. No. No? I grabbed him, sinking my nails into his flesh. Did you get fired? Oh, we're doomed. Oh my god. Let go of me, you psycho. Let me finish. The big boss said that everyone at the company has been over to eat at our house except for him and his wife. He's waiting for you to invite him over for Chinese. The big boss wants me to cook for him? I won't do it. Don't invite him. I'll happily do it for any of your colleagues, but it's unethical to invite your superior. I'm a person of integrity. You know, I wanted to go on about the moral character of the Chinese people, but I couldn't explain it clearly. Then I saw the expression on Jose's face and realized I would have to choke down my morality. The next day he asked me, Hey, do we have any bamboo shoots? Plenty of chopsticks in the house, all made out of bamboo. He gave me a dirty look. The big boss wants bamboo shoots with shiitake mushrooms. Amazing. This boss must truly be well-traveled. Can't underestimate these foreigners. All right, invite the two of them over for dinner tomorrow night. I'll come up with some bamboo shoots. No problem. Jose looked over at me with great affection. It was the first time since we got married that he had gazed at me so amorously. What flattery. Too bad my hair was a tangled mess and I looked like death that day. The following night, I prepared 3 dishes ahead of time and kept them warm at a simmer. I set up the dinner table with the red cloth diagonally, overlaying a white cloth and a candle holder on top. It was a lovely arrangement. Everyone enjoyed themselves thoroughly at the meal. Not only were the dishes perfect in presentation, aroma, and taste, I had also cleaned myself up nicely and went so far as to put on a long skirt. When the boss and his wife were getting ready to leave, they told me, If we ever have an opening in public relations, we hope you can fill in and be a part of the company. My eyes gleamed with joy. All this thanks to bamboo shoots with shiitake mushrooms. It was already late after we sent them off. I immediately took off the long skirt in favor of a pair of ripped jeans. Tying my hair up with some bands, I began furiously washing bowls and plates. I felt so much more at ease, both physically and spiritually, back in my Cinderella get-up. Jose was very satisfied. Hey, the bamboo shoots and mushrooms were really tasty, he said from behind me. Where'd you get the bamboo? What bamboo? I asked, while doing the dishes. The bamboo shoots from tonight's dinner. I broke out into laughter. Oh, you mean the cucumber stir-fried with mushroom. What? You can fool me all you want, but you dare put that out on the boss? I didn't fool him. It was the most delicious meal of bamboo shoots with shiitake mushrooms he's had in his life. He said it so himself. Jose scooped me up in his arms, getting soapy water all over his head and beard. You're the greatest, he said. You're like that monkey, the one with 72 transformations. What's his name? What? I patted his head. The great sage, equal of heaven, Sun Wukong. Don't go forgetting his name this time.